Hey, what's up, you guys? So today I just wanted to drop like an all-around state of the game right now video for people who are wondering if they should return to the game. Now, I just want to set this off with a disclaimer that this video is probably not the best place to look if you are someone who has never played this game and are looking to try it, because a lot of things I'm going to be discussing in this video are going to also be referring to how the game was in the past. So if you are not familiar with a lot of the aspects of this game, this video is probably not the best one for you, and I would recommend trying to find a different video nearing the subject you're looking for. Now, before I get into the actual video, I just want to answer some questions that a lot of people are going to have on the status of my account based off of videos I've had previously. As you can see, my account is self-muted, meaning I went in and disabled chat on my account by myself. This is not a PvP sanctioned mute. My account is not affected by that right now. This is purely just because I do not want to communicate in the game. Just for a lot of reasons, and it is for account safety. I cannot get falsely muted, which happened a lot. I'm currently just not playing PvP, so I just want to start that off before I get into the actual topics. But I'm just going to go section by section on the arena specifically, because this is where a lot of the max level content is, just around the game. Now, if you've never finished the actual game storyline, I do recommend, if that is what you're coming back for, go for it. The actual storyline of Wizard101 is fantastic, as a lot of you guys know. It's very entertaining if you've never done before, and if that is something that you're asking, should I come back? Absolutely. If you were just purely coming back to quest and just for the storyline, go for it. Now, a lot of the issues with the game stability in the long run is because of how the game is once you hit max, and once you want to not only expand your count into more characters but also farm more gear. So I'm going to start off with Decathlon. Now, Decathlon, for those of you guys who do not know, is a tower-based challenge where you are effectively only able to use treasure cards and then may cast pets, and you are given certain tiers of decks, which I will show you right now. Certain tiers of decks that will make it easier as you go on. So as you start off with this one that gives you 5 damage for death and 15 flat res. Then as you go and progress, you will get better and better decks. And that is what Decathlon is. And now these decks will again only allow you to use treasure cards. So you are forced to use certain treasure cards that will benefit you based on the actual school of the Decathlon. Now, this is probably one of my favorite events, but the issue is, the only real reason to play this is if you are farming for the Scroll of Fortune, or if you are going for these certain school hands, or not necessarily just the hands or other crafting options, but for the crafting aspect or for the scroll. Now, with the introduction of a being able to advance your Scroll of Fortune in the last update, if you want to just pay to win, if you're to a person who will buy the scroll and you have the funds, you honestly can just pay to win it. You'll pay about 20k just to max the scroll itself, but you will get all of the rewards immediately. This also kind of cuts out half of the reason to play Decathlon. Now, if you've never played Decathlon and you're not looking to play it no life, this does come around 1 week every month, and I honestly find it extremely entertaining, just to play casually, or if you want to sweat it out for the crafting rewards, go for it. But is this something to come back for? No, this is really only for the extreme Wizhead players to play. And yeah, so now gonna get into Beast Moon. Now, I've never really played a lot of Beast Moon just because of how non-beginner friendly it is, which is going to be a trend you're going to see coming along with the rest of the video. But Beast Moon, for those of you guys who do not know, it is a form-based basically PvP or PvE mode, depending on the event, where you are fighting with certain forms. Each of them gives a certain set of cards that will perfectly counter a different set, as you can see right here. There are a lot more than just this. Each one has a school-based one, specifically depending on if it's like a spirit mayhem or an elemental mayhem, depending on what your school that you're going to be fighting on. Now, I do not know everything about Beast Moon because I'm not a hardcore Beast Moon player. So if I am wrong on some of my information, I apologize. Again, is this something to come back for? Absolutely not. This is really only for the extreme Wizhead players, because as you're starting off, you will fight against people who have max tiered. It takes a long grind to max a Beast Moon form, especially the valuable ones, because they're not all available each event. So you might have to wait multiple months to actually be able to do this, on top of the fact that Beast Moon only comes around twice a month, one of which being a PvE mode, one of which being a PvP mode. And being able to max these forms does take a long time, specifically if you're doing events that are not tailored towards maxing your certain school. So if you're playing a spirit Beast Moon event and you're trying to max an elemental, it's going to be way harder, and you're going to be fighting against people who have these max forms off the bat. So you will be at an extreme disadvantage, on top of the fact that a lot of the time, if you're returning to this game, you're not going to have a large community of friends, so you will probably be solo queuing this as well, which is going to be very hard to learn while also solo queuing. So again, do I recommend coming back to the game for this? No. Just my personal opinion, on top of the fact that, again, it is not beginner friendly, but the one pro that this has is you do not have to do any previous farming or leveling to be able to play Beastman. I believe it is available at level 12. So if you're looking for something that's not going to take a huge grind to actually get into, unlike PvP, which I'm about to get into now, Beast Moon is the option to go for there. So now I'm going to get into PvP, but I'm going to split this into multiple different sections because it is very dynamic on how to get into PvP, and then once you get into PvP, where to go from there. So PvP, first off, requires gear, as very obviously pets, gear, stuff like that. The problem with this is, one, as a lot of the returning players will know, PvP used to be extremely pay to win, with gears being in packs and bundles and stuff like that. Now that is still a growing trend now. As of about 6 months ago, we were to the point where all of the gear that people were running were free to play gear, available in raids and available in the novice world. But recently we've been seeing packs that just have increasingly better stats, and so a lot of the gear that you're going to be running now, up to 2 to 3 pieces, is going to be from packs. Some schools run even more. I believe Life runs 5 pieces now. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that some schools do require packs. Now, packs is one thing. Most players will be able to buy that without a problem, and you will not see any issues with that. But the real issue with the entry barrier to PvP now is the raid gear. So, as we've moved further and further from the first raid, which came out about a year ago almost, no one is really raiding now, especially no big names are raiding. So, getting introduced into raids, having to find small groups of people who might not have the best strategies or might not have the best people to actually run them with is going to be difficult, on top of the fact that raids are very scheduled, so you have to have 12 people at one time at any given time to be able to run them, on top of having to run them successfully. And even then, there is still a huge factor of RNG in your actual drops. So a lot of people who are coming back to this game are going to be turned off by this, and honestly, I do not blame you at all. Farming for raid gear is one of the most tedious things, just because of how hard there actually are to get into, and then on top of getting the gear and having to upgrade them using the reagents from Novus, it is very tedious. And especially because a lot of schools will only need like 1 or 2 pieces, usually the boots or the hat or the robe. It is extremely hard to get those drops specifically for the school you want, and especially a lot of schools have mismatch options. If there was kind of a pity system for raid gear, it would be very nice. But as most of you guys know, raids are scheduled to be the summer update, so we are coming close to an Azteca raid, which may introduce a lot of new features that will make raid gear less difficult to get, and I will make an update video when that does come. But as of right now, until that video does eventually drop, raids are the biggest barrier to PvP as it stands. And this is probably one of the biggest barriers. So if you do not have the willpower to come back and have to grind for probably close to a month on top of after getting max, then no, I don't recommend it. And if you go into PvP using lackluster stats, not the best stats or not close to the best stats, you're not going to be extremely competitive, because those simple small stat changes, like a few resist or a few shadow chance specifically, is going to make or break a match. You will lose games because of a few damage or a few shads or a few pierce, and that's just how it is now. Because of how rock paper scissors the meta has turned into, the only difference really between a good player and a great player is stats. It is if the good player has ward, or if the good player has 5 more resist or something like that, then the great player, they're going to win, just because of how dumbed down the actual meta of the game is, on top of the cards I'm about to get into now. So if you are returning to this game and you have not played since the end of 2021, I believe is when these were introduced, then you're going to be showed a big culture shock here. This website is from Final Bastion, and I will be linking that below. But Roshambo and the Roshambo wheel. So as you can see, every school has a hard counter that is different from the legacy counters. Ice counters storm, storm counters fire, fire counters storm, and the same goes for the middle. These are all hard counters, and then myth hard counters death, which hard counters life, which hard counters myth. And then balance sock counters everything, which is why it's in the middle. And each school got 7 new cards, which again, if you want to see these more in depth and read the actual spell descriptions, this link will be in the description. But this is a lot of cards to have to deal with, because each card will work in synchronicity, I believe is the word, with another one of their cards, or another one of their cards for a different school. So this death blade to blade spell can be used to set up a storm blade gambit, which is like a conditional spell. This is what a gambit, if you ever hear someone using the word gambit, this is what they were referring to. Um, and learning what all of these spells do is very vital to PvP, because if you get hit with one of these unsuspectingly, you will lose, because a lot of these gambits do an extreme amount of damage due to how unbalanced stats are in PvP. And because there's just a lot of them, jumping into it now, you're gonna have to play a lot of games at a losing disadvantage before you actually learn how to all of these cards play together. And there is not a huge community of people who are willing to help anymore. The community of PvP has been shrinking exponentially, as time goes on. So the days of being in calls with all your friends and everyone sharing, ideas and stuff like that have basically gone away completely. There is a few small groups of players who are repeatedly getting banned at this point and just keep going and going, but it is not really an expanding group, so it is really hard to find players now who will be available to help you out with that. So coming back to PvP, I don't want to specifically say no, because I know once you get fully back into PvP and you get all your gear and you understand the cards, it can be quite enjoyable. But just do know that it is going to take a long time compared to how it used to take, to get actually PvP ready. Before, how it used to be is you just had to get the world gear or Dragoon gear, you had to get the duelist ring from the PvP tournaments, and you could be PvP ready within a day or two. That is just not how it is anymore. There is a lot of factors that go into it, not only with just jewels and gear farming, but now you also have to farm pens, which takes a long time. It's also another RNG factor with gear drops, and it's just expanding. On top of the fact that the gear meta actually changes a lot. Every single month or two, we're seeing a new pack or a new boss or something like that that gives new gear, in a gauntlet even, or a new bundle, which is going to change, very, very consistently, and is probably trending that way. As the community gets smaller, KI needs more ways to make money, so they're going to throw these gears into packs so that the remaining players have to bleed their wallets to be able to, keep up with the best meta stats. So again, if you are a returning player, I do not recommend that. If you want to come back to try to play PvP, I would stick playing casual. I would never try to come back and play this game hardcore again, or just flat out save yourself the time and do not play. That is my opinion, though. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Now, if you guys have any other questions or comments, feel free to add me on Twitter. It's in my description, or my Discord, which is shown on the screen. And yes, my new Discord tag is King's Isle Entertainment, all one word. I got it as a joke, and I actually got the name. So that is my new Discord tag. If you guys feel free to add me on Discord. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.